Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Feather and Fur. Your host, Brad Hurlebaus. And today we have on Damien with Punisher Waterfowl.
Buddy, you are going to get me out of my comfort zone tonight. I'm telling you.
We are. You're normally the host, and now you're the guest. It's
Yeah.
it's role reversal. Like there's a psychiatrist somewhere that's going to tune in and be like, I can't wait to see how this goes.
Yeah, on a lot of different levels, I'm sure. Thanks for having me, dude.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I've been wanting to get you on the show after I did yours.
Yeah.
Learn a little
No,
bit.
it's awesome, man. I appreciate it. I tell you, every time, so I shouldn't say every time because it hardly ever happens that I do one of these, but I'm always impressed with other people's intro to shows. Like it
Sure.
just blow. Yeah, I do. I love watching other people's intros that they have to shows, and I just love watching the creativity of it, and then my head starts spinning. Well, how did he do that? Like, how did they make that effect and stuff? So that's really cool, man. Thanks for having me.
I can take no credit for that. That's all Mr. OG himself, Brian Schiller. So that's all him. The only thing I'll take credit for is that amazing dog in the new canoe at the very opening scene. That's Miss Pippa herself. So that's all me. And that picture is actually my wife's handiwork
Oh boy, awesome.
with the tongue sticking out and all that. Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. That's a great pitch. How was she this past year for upland? Because you do a lot of upland hunting, right?
I do. I'll use her for ducks earlier in the season, but with being 11, once we get
Yeah.
to those hardier months where things get cold, and if I'm hunting
Mm-hmm.
current, at that point I just leave her home. Like she's retired from those hard hunts and those hard retrieves. In the easier stuff, when it's warmer, when her hips really aren't like hurting
Mm-hmm.
her, like her joints are really good. Like her joints are in excellent shape for being 11, to be honest.
Yeah,
But it's just too hard on her that cold weather duck
of
hunting.
course
But
it
for
is.
upland, she did great. She was still putting on between 10 and 15 miles a day
Wow. It's
with me
just
doing, she does about triple what I do.
oh yeah, for sure. For sure she
So
would. Just it just blows me. I just love dogs so much that their passion for doing it and just wanting to keep you like they're pretty happy doing the job, but they're pretty happy knowing they're doing it for you too. So that's always pretty cool to me. I love watching dogs work. I do.
I, I can enjoy duck hunting without a dog. I love a great retrieve, don't get me
Oh,
wrong, but I still find enjoyment duck hunting by myself with buddies,
yeah.
not having to have a dog.
Mm-hmm.
I find very little enjoyment upland hunting though without a dog. Like if
Oh,
I wouldn't have a dog, I wouldn't grouse hunt right now. I wouldn't go walk around the woods by myself and grouse hunt. That's just nothing I'm interested in.
so I've upland hunt, but like field, like pheasants, right?
Sure.
So when you're doing grouse, is she pointing grouse or is she just flushing?
She's a pointer, so she's pointing grouse, she's pointing the woodcock, just like pheasant, but you're in thicker woods. You're like
Right.
on transition lines between like that five. Like a lot of times, grouse like a lot of varied habitat. They like that. They like the open field for bugs in the summer for their
Mm-hmm.
chicks. They like the old hardwoods, and
Yep.
they like that younger like aspen and poplar as well. And they need a really good diverse habitat, and that all needs to be within what is it, 5 or 10 acres? That's their home range. 10 acres, I
Yep.
think it is.
Yep. That's right.
So I mean that's asking a lot. So I mean you like some of the stuff we hunt is just crazy thick, which is awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
But my favorite part is watching the dog navigate and the grace in the woods going under and over trees and just through it all. And for me just to stop, and I know people enjoy upland hunting without dogs, all the
Mm-hmm.
power to them. Like
Yep.
that's awesome. To me, it's watching the dog work is why I'm there.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. I really do. I think I'm getting some feedback from my phone, so I'm gonna kill it here. Um, yeah. Sorry.
All good.
Yeah. No. It's awesome, man. I love watching it. I've watched fellas do it for a long time. Watching video and seeing pictures. And just this past fall, I went on my first true upland pheasant hunt. Um, I tell you, the biggest thing I learned from it is how quick you need to be to shoulder your gun when you're with a crew of fellas. Because we hunted all morning, and I never got to pull the trigger once because the boys were so quick shouldering their guns and getting the bird, and I was just like, "Holy smokes, you guys are fast!" Like, and I think maybe I was watching the dog a little bit more as opposed to
Sure.
watching for the bird. But anyways, yeah, it was a great morning. I just didn't get to shoot a bird, but I had a lot of fun watching.
It's like that's where like when people say like shotgun fit's really important,
Yeah,
that's when like you can kind of work around a somewhat bad mount and a somewhat bad fitting shotgun duck hunting because you have way more time than what like you know it like you have
yeah,
way more time when those birds are coming in, like you don't have to rush your first shot, like there's plenty of time there really
absolutely.
is, like
Hmm.
new hunter. And even when I get excited, I'm like, oh my god, I gotta shoot, and then you got
Yeah,
plenty of time. But like grouse hunting, those birds get up and move so fast, and with how they like duck behind trees, and I
yeah,
can't count the number of pine trees that have saved a grouse's life for me. Like they just throw themselves right in the way. But
yeah,
like that's where shotgun fit to me is so important on my upland because it's instinct. Like it's like
yeah.
if your gun is like if you're mounting your shoulder, if you're shouldering it and your mount isn't good and your gun doesn't fit right, you're gonna get frustrated because you're gonna miss a lot of birds. And even with everything fitting right, I still miss a ton of birds.
Oh, oh, buddy, yeah. Well, and that's what makes it so much fun is that it'll still keep you honest, right? Or
Oh
still
yeah.
keep you humble. Because if you think you're a great shot, Um, yeah, especially in the woods, right? Like you can lose sight of them so fast. Like it just if they blend in with some foliage or something, you can lose sight of them so fast. So yeah, good on you, man. Uh, I
It's a
don't.
good time. I enjoy it.
Yeah, awesome.
It keeps me healthy too. Like I'm putting so many miles on the boots that time of year. Like it's actually like weight loss, like a weight loss program. I get more
Yeah, I bet.
exercise in then than I do throughout the rest of the year.
Well, no, absolutely. You got a pack on your back. You're just what, and it's not like you're walking on a sidewalk.
Right.
It's transitions, moving, bending, all that stuff. So yeah, it's great. It's great exercise. Maybe that's something I need to spend less time in the boat and spend more time out walking around and see if I can lose some of this keg I got that I'm carrying around with me right now.
Mine's growing too, man. You're not alone.
Nasty right now.
It's just getting old. Like I'm
Yeah.
just blaming that. I turned 40 and everything fell apart.
Yeah, that was around about where it started for me too. When I hit 40, it was pretty funny. My dad used to uh, sort of kind of go off topic, but when I first joined the military and I would travel home on vacation and stuff, well, it would be like a 2 week party for me, right? I'd be home on vacation, and to be just a 2 week party, and I'm drinking and the whole bit, and come home at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, be up again at 9 o'clock to go do something with dad or whatever. And he used to laugh at me. He was like, "You enjoy this now, buddy." He said, "Because it's going to catch up to you. Your days of out till 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning and up at 9 doing a day's work, those days are coming to an end." I was like, "Nah, I'll be good. I'll be good." No, once again, my old man, words of wisdom.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, that's one thing is that I mean, man, duck season gets long. Doesn't like when you're up, like when you're pushing it hard and like you don't go, I don't go to bed any earlier. I'm still going to bed at 11-ish at night. And then
Mhm.
it's up at 3 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, depending on where I get to. And
Yep.
there's no naps in the middle of the day. Like it's the next day, it's do it over again. It's like,
Well,
oh,
I do take some naps, and it's different for me because my kids are older now, right? And my wife is working. So when I come home, um, at the end of a duck hunt, I've got the house to myself, right? So
sure.
I can squeeze in an hour, hour and a half. But your first point about the duck season being long, like, it is long, man. Like, and you've always heard that term. Well, it's a grind, right? And it is a grind, and it's hard. But I'm 46 years old right now, um, and just like when I was drinking when I was 20, but even when 10 years ago, I could do the full season, no problem. Now, probably 4 days max. and then I got to take a day off. Like I've got to take a day off to recharge the batteries, and spend, like an afternoon just down in the grads, just picking away at decoys and making sure the rigs are good and stuff like that. Meanwhile, before I would do it if I got home at 8 o'clock at night and I was going out the next morning. Well, I'd sit in the garage and I'd do it at 10 o'clock at night. But now I just can't do it anymore. My hat goes off to these fellas that are just on the grind the whole time. Not only on the grind, I tell you, Brad, the thing that really impresses me is the guys that do the travel that they do.
Oh yeah.
That right? Because you're not eating home cooked meals, you're not sleeping in your own bed. You're on the road, 6, 7 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours out of the day to go get into some Motel 6, get a couple hours of rack, and then hit the road, do a hunt. And then those fellas that are filming, because I'm going to let a little secret in on people. If you think that these videos you see, when you see birds falling out of the sky, if you think that that was a one take, you're mistaken, right? Like they're out there, like the guys, especially the guys doing the video,
Oh
like
yeah.
that's long days, man, trying to get that B-roll footage and stuff like that. So my hat
Absolutely.
goes off to them, buddy, because I couldn't do it. There's no way I could do it.
No, no, I can't. Like, no. I mean, you got the guys like some of those big video crews and whatnot that are still putting out those movies and still doing the YouTube stuff. They're starting up in
Yeah,
Canada in September, and they're
yeah,
still hunting all the way into January down in Arkansas. And they've been at it for what, 4, 5 months at that point.
yeah,
Like, there's
yeah,
just no way.
yeah,
And like you said, the travel, never sleeping, like sleeping in hotels, everything
yeah,
else, and like the food, like all of it. That's a lot. Like,
yeah. And people that's never done it, and I'm not slagging on anybody whatsoever, but like if you've never experienced a 2 week road trip chasing birds, you want to know what exhausted feels like. Go give that a try. And I'm sure there's other pursuits out there that's like it. That it's just that's the only one that I know, right? That's the only one
right.
that I do. So I get it, man. Like I'll go with my buddies, and they're still pretty gung ho too. They'll hunt more than what I will. But on day 3, day 4, like I'll say to them, boys, I'm not going this morning. I'm going to sleep in, and I'll have lunch ready for you when you get back or something like that. Because I just can't do it anymore.
And the flip side to that is like for the ones out there that are dreaming of that, they're like, man, they're so lucky. And like they are like the guys that can chase an entire season, start to finish, north to south. Like, hats off to you, man, that you're able to make a career and make your like passion, your lifestyle truly.
Yeah.
But I completely understand like it doesn't come easy, and there is a lot of work there.
Well, it's a ton of work, and then so this is the way. So I talked to a fella about this a couple years ago. They were in the process of wrapping up their first season of filming, and and I said, man, good for you guys. You got your show, and they were Canadians, right? So um, a big deal for those guys, a big deal for me to when I'm thinking about them and stuff, and I'm like, man, good for you guys, like awesome. And they were like, man, it's hard, and I'm like, oh, it gotta be hard. And they were like, well, yeah, it's hard because we're chasing animals, we're chasing birds. But now think about, now you have the pressure of making sure that you're on a hunt. So like if it's me or you, Brad, like if there's no birds, oh well, we'll
Right.
just go home and we'll just call it a day. Oh, there was no birds, we didn't. But if you've got a film crew with you, that's big bucks, buddy, if you're not dropping any birds.
Yeah, I mean, scout like I mean, I put in quite a bit of time scouting, but to take that type of pressure, like now you have to eliminate as much risk as possible. So that
Yeah.
means you are really putting the miles on scouting. You're really putting the time in. Like, if you're not hunting and the sun's up, you're probably scouting at that point or driving to get somewhere else to scout.
Yeah. 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 Fair, very fair point.
I mean, that all just adds into that those long days and sleepless nights and everything else. And then you wake up that morning and then you got to set everything like it's a lot like it's everything we do just
Yeah.
to the extreme.
Absolutely. And that's why you've heard that old saying, like, if it was easy, well, everybody'd do it, right?
Right.
So you think of these guys, like you think of the TV shows and the DVDs that you've watched and all this stuff over the years. Um, Anybody could do it, but who has the drive to continue to do it? And that's why there's only a select few dudes that can pull this off, right? And yeah, it's
And it's
impressive.
more, and there's so much more to it than just being a good waterfowl hunter or
Oh yeah,
deer hunter or bear hunter or whatever you are.
yeah,
Like, you have to be good at running a business because you're running a business at this
yeah,
point, right? You
yeah,
have to be good at marketing because
yeah.
you have to market this program to people to sponsor it so you can even afford to do it. Like, this is a career at
Absolutely.
that point, and you
Yep.
have to treat it like one. It's far more than just being like, I'm pretty good at finding where birds are and getting on some hunts. Well, it's not that. Like, I'm sure, like, if I got a chance to sit down and talk to a bunch of them, like a bunch of different guys like that have done this before,
Hmm.
I'm willing to bet most of them come back and say the hardest part is that marketing and the business aspect of it, not the hunt itself.
Oh, absolutely. And think about this, and you've also got to provide some entertainment value, right?
Right.
Because, and I've been saying this for years, Brad, and you've heard me say it. Like, you can only watch a bird getting shot out of the sky so many times, right? Because it's just another bird being shot. So now you've got to produce something that's going to grab somebody's attention, that you're going to entertain them, so that, okay, well, now I can't wait for this next video. I remember there was a group of guys, a bunch of years ago, not a bunch of years ago, but a couple years ago, down in the States. I don't know where they were at, but they were called the Nomad Chronicles. And I don't know if you ever watched it, but there was a group of young dudes, uh, just out. I think they were using socks,
Okay.
decoy, and dude, like, they were just getting after it, and they just filmed their stuff. Like, they had good gear. It wasn't professional, but they had good gear, and they were putting out great shows. And every episode, you wanted to see what they were going to get into the next time, because you know what I mean. It was as close to a real life show as you could get.
Sure.
You know.
And with the Instagram and the like, that reels and all the TikTok and the short attention span stuff now, like even YouTube, I think people struggle like to keep people entertained for 10 minutes.
Well,
Like,
yeah, like your show here, right? Like, so, video wise, so we have a show. Um, Now, your show, being fishing, is more is it's going to be more popular than what my show is any day of the week. But like, for us, and the fact that we're a small brand up in Canada, um, our YouTube, our YouTube reach, because our show is about an hour long, just like yours. Our YouTube reach isn't that great. We get a lot of people that'll watch, but our analytics say, 18, 19 minutes. After that, people start dropping off, right? So I'm constantly trying to figure new ways to keep people watching past that 17, 18 minute mark.
and that's hard. I mean, expect like podcasts at our time frame being this 1 hour are great for like where people like enjoy podcasts, like
Yep.
out on the, like, I know a lot of people that kayak, like a lot of, I know kayak tournament fishermen that'll listen to podcasts while they're fishing. Like,
Mhm.
that's cool. I know
Yep.
a lot of guys that drive that have decent commutes and their podcasts back and forth all the time. Like, the
Yep.
radio gets old. Like, it's the same songs over and over and over again. Like,
Absolutely.
so they're doing podcasts. Like, it's easier to have a longer show then, right? Like,
Yep.
you get
That's
those
right.
full plays, but YouTube, it's difficult because, like,
It very.
especially
So,
like because just two guys talking.
yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. So that's what we find. Like, the majority of our listeners in the States and in Canada, and listening is way more popular than watching for our show, anyways. But that's everybody that we listen to. That's they may not get through a full episode on their morning commute, but they'll finish it on their evening way back home or whatever. It's usually always people that are driving to work, driving to scout, something like that. That's who we're getting mostly for listeners. We get some people that watch, but yeah, we get way more people listen to the podcast for sure.
And I think that's probably, well, I'm sure there's podcasts out there. Like I'm sure Joe Rogan's show has a ton of views, right? But that's a
Oh yeah.
completely different
Yeah,
animal.
that's a different beast altogether.
Like I don't even know. Like yes, it's a podcast, but is it really a podcast?
Well, and
Like that's a production show.
but if you look at how Rogan does it, like there's not a lot of bells and whistles or nothing, right? Like he's just
True.
honest to goodness, just talking with interesting people. The one thing that Rogan does that I absolutely love, and he's in a position that he doesn't have to you know ask for sponsors or you know throw drop the names of companies and stuff like that, but he'll work a product into when he's talking, right? Especially if it's fitness equipment or something for MMA fighting or something like that. He'll just weasel this little product in and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, man, like I'm doing this thing now for my neck and it's this product and it's like a 10-second bit and then that's it." But that company
Oh, for
it's just
sure.
just cash register sounds just going, because it was mentioned on Rogan.
Right.
The guy's a genius, and I think he's got the most popular show in the world, and I think the reason is that he just keeps it simple with interesting people.
That's real. I mean, and that's the cool thing. Like once you get to that point, right? Like because now like you almost get to pick. Like you get to that point, you have the most popular show on the like that.
Yeah.
You want to guess like who's really going to say no to you at this point, right?
Oh,
You're probably like
absolutely.
your list of guests is so long, like you pretty much get to say like what's interesting in the world right now. Okay, XYZ is interesting. Which one of the 30 people that actually could
Yeah,
talk about this on this list do I want to talk to? Like,
absolutely. And
and he's
and
not
I
even
think
probably doing that himself.
you know what?
Maybe he is. I don't know.
I think you'd be surprised because I think for Rogan to be able to have the conversations that he has with the people and very like and there's some pretty intellectual, intelligent conversations that goes on his show. I would hazard to bet that he has a very big part to play in who it is because I think that has something to do with how the show flows is his comfortability. Now, that's a hard word to say for me this evening. But anyways,
I would
enough
agree.
about no. Yeah,
I'd agree. He's definitely got to do research in order to have drive the conversations that he does. Because
absolutely.
it's so many different topics. Like I'm hunting, like I'm bird hunting, like waterfall, like I'm hunting. Like
Yeah,
I've experience there. It's relatively easy for me to like stay involved, like and stay like drive conversations. Like, but you put me in something about wildfires in Canada.
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. First thing about like dealing with wildfires. I don't have a clue. How am I going to
yeah.
intellectually like and have an intellectual conversation about that unless I would do research?
That's right. Yeah. And I think that's what so even for you, right? Because you may not do the same level of research or have a group of people do the research for you like what a Rogan or some of these other big names will do, but you still do your research. Like
Right.
when you bring a guest on for the first time, like you have notes in front. I do it all the time. You have notes in front of you of things that you want to talk about that because you've checked up on the person, and that's just part of the job and something that everybody. If you want to be, I really want to word it the right way because I don't want to come across as though I'm this super duper podcaster or anything like that. But if you want to have a good show, you've got to do some research and know who it is that you're talking to.
Agreed. I ain't got no notes in front of me right now. I'll tell you.
Well, but you
This
already
is
know
true.
me, right?
This is
You
true.
you
And
already
my
know
show
me.
and my show's slightly unique in the fact that I don't do a script. I mean,
Yeah,
it's all off the cuff. It's wherever the conversation goes. I try to start a lot of my shows with how people got into hunting, but we jumped right into conversation. And that's okay. We never even have to make it back to that part. Don't matter to
Yeah.
me. My show
Yeah.
is 100% ad lib. It's like it's wherever the conversation goes, whatever stories wind up happening, and then afterwards I figure out how to write a description around it.
Ah, there you go. Well, like, you know, well, let's, how did I get into hunting? Like my family, my dad was a hunter, but my dad didn't take me hunting. I
Okay,
was My dad like my dad worked hard. Like he was a hard worker. Um, and it's not that my dad didn't love me or anything like that because I know he did. But on a Saturday morning, and my dad was a big game hunter, so moose mostly, right? Like that was his chance to get away. And not that he didn't love me, but the last thing he wanted was me dragging around saying I was cold or I was hungry. He just wanted some time by himself, right? So when I got older, a young man, yeah, I would go with my dad. But back where I was from, um, if you wanted to hunt, well, you had to be a man to hunt big game.
okay,
That was just the way it was, right? Uh, Teenagers, you could go hunt rabbit, grouse, ducks, geese,
sure,
that sort of thing as a teenager. But if you wanted to get into to moose, well, you had to be a man in order to do that, right? So for us, it was just we lived in a little town in the North Atlantic on an island in the North Atlantic. There wasn't a lot to do, so you had to entertain yourself. So there was a time in the fall of the year, between ball and hockey, where there was nothing on the go. So what'd you do? You just grab your grandfather's single shot cooey, and everybody just went out and walked around and tried to see if you could shoot ducks. Like it really, that's all it was. I didn't My friends got me into it because my friends were doing it, so therefore, well, if I wanted to
sure.
hang out with them, then I had to do it, right? So I done that, um, but then, when I hit my 20s, I joined the military. Well, I just put it away. I never ever I didn't duck hunt at all when I joined the military. I was living in barracks on base, so I couldn't have a gun, um, all that stuff. And it wasn't until after I came back from Afghanistan in 2007, uh, that a friend of mine had said, "Hey, man, like you should probably get back into hunting again." And it was strictly a therapeutic thing,
Sure.
just to get back out, get out, watch the world wake up in the mornings, get outside and just, dump all the bullshit that the real world throws at you, right? Um,
Absolutely. A way to reset, way to refocus. I mean,
yeah. And that's when And it was at that point when I really started to learn how to duck hunt, because when I was a teenager, we just pond hop, right?
sure.
And hope that you would like, if there were 4 or 5 of us, if we went home with a 1 duck, that was a huge success for us,
Nice.
right?
Right.
So
But no, that's
that
all
was
like the best part is though, like how awesome is that though? Like to know like 4 or 5 of you and your buddies go out, you jump shoot a pond,
yeah,
one duck falls, like it doesn't matter what happens the rest of the day. Like that
yeah,
day was won. And
yeah,
now we go out like and we set our decoys and everything. We shoot one duck. Sometimes we look at each other and be like, hell are we doing here?
mhm, yeah. No, very good point. Very like, and now it doesn't happen all the time, but every morning I go out, my plan is to shoot a limit.
Right?
That that's my plan every morning. Now, do I get mad if I don't shoot a limit? No. I don't get mad, but my it's a success for me if I hit a limit. If that
I
makes
do.
sense. Yeah,
It's not the only thing that matters on the hunt, but it's a
that's right.
part of the hunt for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. And you know what? With the amount of money I've spent in this, coming home with 1 bird, my wife is just gonna start telling me to, "Hey, it's time to stop, buddy, because, we're gonna starve to death if we have to wait for you to put food on the table." You know what I mean?
That time could be better spent at a grocery store at this point.
Well, and yeah, and that little piece of mallard, mm,
Right.
you know,
How
but
far, even fully plucked, and like how far is one mallard going to get you?
yeah, that's right. That's right. So, but yeah, man, like it's I don't know. I think everybody, or I should say, I've never come across anybody that didn't start hunting from humble beginnings, from just a pure passion for, like, you know what I mean? Like there was
I do.
nobody. I've yet to meet anybody that said, "Well, I'm going to start duck hunting because I'm going to get rich because of it." I've yet to meet anybody that said that. I know people now that have turned it into a career,
Sure.
um, but nobody starts out as saying, "Well, I'm going to be, a extraordinary duck hunter and I'm going to make millions of dollars." Because, well, actually, I don't think that's even possible. I think um, Mr. Robertson down in Arkansas is the only one that can claim $1 million from duck hunting, because I don't think anybody else can.
And that wasn't even from the duck hunting. Like that was from his reality show. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, and now duck hunting got him to that point, right? I get
Of
that. Duck
course.
commander calls, but
Yep.
the marketing of their shop, their personalities, their shop, and what that show could be,
Yeah.
that's what got him there.
Oh,
Their
of
marketing
course.
and his business sense and his personality and his awareness of the entire, like, the marketing, like, though his awareness of what reality TV shows were and what he thought could fit into that market, like
Hmm.
that's how he made that money.
And he's, you know, for what reality TV is, and you can have your own thoughts of what you think the majority of reality TV that we see is not even close to reality. Um, but Duck Commander and that show, I'm guessing that was pretty close to reality. I'm sure that there was some stuff that was embellished a little bit here and there, but I got a feeling that was pretty close to reality as you could get when it comes to that family.
I'd agree. I mean, I'm sure that there are some things like blowing up the beaver dams and stuff like that. Like they've done that
Yeah,
before, and they're like, we can turn that into a show. Let's wait on that. Just
yeah,
wait. I don't do that just yet. We'll make an episode out of that. So I'm
of
sure part
course.
of it was staged and scripted to, like, to a degree, but I
Hmm.
think for the most part, you're right. Like all of it came from some truth. Like all of
Yeah,
that show, I believe, came from some sort of truth from their family, and
I
it wasn't
believe it.
written by like writers or anything like that.
Yeah, like, the characters. If you look at Willie, right? Like Willie was the brains behind it. Like, was Willie the great hunter? No, not really, but he was a smart man when it come to the business.
Right?
Soy, like every one of them are their own characters, and not one of them could have made that show without the other. Um,
I agree.
but I do think that was as close to reality. Like, look at Mr. Robertson's house. Like, that man could be living in a mansion, and he don't need it. So and that's sort of kind of where I was trying to go with this, is that, they spoke to an entirely different demographic of people that have never been spoken to before on TV. And that got them some popularity, because you know what? Just having some morals and standing up for what you believe in, that stuck with a lot of people, and that was a lot of the reason why that show was so popular.
Agreed.
Hmm.
And it's just another that they had their own grind, right?
Yeah,
I mean, just their own grind, and I mean, it's great to see it. Like it's just it's amazing. It always amazes to me how people, like, to me, I just keep going back to that marketing because we're always marketing. Like I market the show.
always.
We
Yeah,
market everything. We, like, if you want to be successful in the outdoor industry, you have to be into marketing in some sort of way or shape
absolutely.
or form, because you're marketing yourself to businesses is what
Hmm.
you're doing. Like
Hmm.
how can, and you have to figure out how you can convince that business that you can help grow their sales,
Absolutely.
because the business is looking at you as a commercial basically at that point.
Yeah. That's the thing, like, and within the fishing world, I can't even imagine what it's like in the fishing world, right? So I can only talk to the hunting world, and this whole idea of this pro staff um moniker that people can get, right? So first off, for people, and if anything I say is wrong when it comes to the fishing world, jump in and tell me. But like in our world, pro staff doesn't mean your professional staff, it means your promotion staff. So you have to understand that the company is going to get more out of you than what you're going to get out of the company, because it wouldn't be a very successful company if they gave more to the people that's promoting their stuff than what they're making. That just makes sense to me, right?
Agreed,
So
100%.
so when you're talking about marketing, like I do it every day, I'm trying to market myself. I'm trying to market my brand, and my business partner, who you've had on the show a bunch of times, Dave. Um, that's what we do every day. We're trying to market ourselves so that um, a company, would. So let's take New Canoe for example. So Dave is very very involved with New Canoe.
Hmm.
Um, and Dave got a great relationship with New Canoe and with Brian and the whole bit. And the whole time, like Dave's been saying, Damien, you need to get into a New Canoe. You need to get into this kayak hunting and trying it and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I just don't. I don't know if it's the right fit for me or whatever. Not not bashing anything. Um, but then I sort of had this epiphany where I'm like, you know what? I really do need to get into this kayaking, because I need to market myself to a different group of people. I Because I'm not reaching the kayak hunters right now.
Right.
Dave can, because
Sure.
he has that experience, and he knows what he's talking about. I don't, and therefore I can't talk about it. So I've got to get into it. I've got to start marketing myself now as a kayak hunter, or somebody that does it or tries to do it, I guess is a better word. Um, but that's part of the marketing side, is that I've got to go dump and listen. If you think New Canoe just flipped me a new rig, I hate to break it to you, but it doesn't work that way. So I had to go out and buy a new rig, and now I've got to teach myself how to hunt out of this thing, how to use it, and whip my dog and the whole bit. So there's a lot to marketing yourself, I guess is what I'm trying to get to. And it's
There
not
is.
and it's not cheap to market yourself.
And you need, and versatility goes a long ways too. Because if you
Oh,
I started in kayaks, right?
yep, yep.
And it took me, like, I didn't expand it. Like, I started as well, there's a lot of kayak fishermen out there. There's a
Mhm.
lot of kayak fishermen out there. There's a lot of far better kayak tournament anglers than me. So the question is, like, how do I separate myself
That's right.
from these other kayak anglers? Like, well, I'm also a duck hunter and I've been using my kayak to duck hunt. Okay. What kayak on the market can help me do things differently? Right.
Mhm.
That's how I looked at it. And I'm like, well, I can mount a mud motor on a New Canoe.
Mhm.
Not a lot of people are doing that.
Yep.
Well, so now I'm running a mud motor on a New Canoe, and people are like, "Whoa, like what's he got going on here?" So I've got a
Absolutely.
mini mud boat now, and it
Yeah.
allows me to do all these different things. And I've got a big mud boat too. Don't get me wrong, for certain, but that little guy allows me to do things that are different.
That's
And
right.
it's like, and I keep that mentality. And I just started working with another company, and he's letting me borrow some of his lights so I can try them out to see how they work on a kayak. And now I set my kayak up for bow fishing with these amazing lightweight LED lights that just hit the market. Well, now I'm
Okay.
doing something different still. Now I'm bow fishing out of a kayak with a mud motor. How many people you see doing that?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. You've If you want to succeed, and this is marketing 101 from Damien Pittman, who knows absolutely nothing about marketing, but um, if you want to, you can't do what everybody else is doing. You've got to do something different, because the only way you get noticed in this crowd of, and like you said, there's a lot of kayak fishermen out there. If you
There's a
want to
lot of
get
there's
noticed,
not as many kayak hunters, but there's enough kayak hunters out there too that you can blend in with that sea and that crowd.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So if you don't do something different, then you're probably not getting noticed.
Right. And
And
not everyone wants to get noticed, but for those that want to grind it out and try to find their niche through
yeah,
social media, through working with companies, creating your own brand, like you
yeah,
mentioned, like if you want to create your own brand,
yeah,
you got to find your own brand. You got to do something that's going to help you stand out. Like, yeah, there's tournament anglers out there in boats, kayaks, everything else that they can stand out just because they're so successful. Like they have
hmm,
just that natural talent and they've put in the time on the water and they can go out there and they can just slay fish.
yeah,
That wasn't me. So how do I like even like duck hunting? Yeah, I can get on some good duck hunts, but there's guys out there in better areas that are more
oh,
productive that do far better video work than I do and can edit
of
film.
course,
Like I'm terrible at editing. I don't
hmm,
like editing video. Like I don't
yeah,
do a lot of video because I just have a disdain for video editing. Like I hate it with a passion. Like I'm like I'd rather there's a lot of things I'd rather do than that. That most people would be like, "What is wrong with you?" Like I just
yeah,
don't like it. So I don't do video. So like how like so it's like how do you set yourself aside like apart from it? And for me, it's doing dumb things in little plastic boats, like running long tail mud motors and shooting fish, like and duck hunting. Like that's how
yeah,
I chose to set myself apart. Other people, you
yeah,
can do it with like amazing photography. Like you can if you're
absolutely,
amazing, like you can do it with photography, you can do it with writing. Like
yeah.
blogs are still like I mean, even like there's so many different ways to do it, but you got to find some way to set yourself apart from everyone else.
Well, absolutely, and the only people, so that's your first, I would say that would be your first step, right? Your first step is identifying, okay, this is the route I'm going to take, um to be different, and to try to carve my way in this world. Once you get, that's the easy part. Then comes the work,
Right.
because that's the hard part. Is like, dude, and and for your listeners, I hope everybody goes and checks out my social media, Punisher Waterfowl, on Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff. But like this brand, I started this brand in 2014. That's 9 years ago, and there's been a lot of no's in 9 years, buddy. There's
Oh,
been a lot of people that have told me, dude, what are you doing? You're never gonna, it's never gonna, it's never gonna be what you want it to be. And there's always a doubter. There's always someone that's gonna say, man, what are you doing? Like, come on, give it up. Like, you're not gonna be Mr. Robertson. You're not gonna be Aaron T. Calls. You're not gonna be Sean Stahl or any. And
right.
I don't want to be Sean Stahl. Sean Stahl is Sean Stahl does stuff that I can't do and I don't want to do. Just like we talked about.
Right.
Well, we talked about it being
Oh
on
yeah.
the road for like 2 months out of the fall.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. But um
And he's been doing it for how many years now?
oh, he's been doing it ever since he's probably been, traveling. I
Right.
bet you since he's been 19, 20 years old on the road. And I think Sean's the same age as me, so in his mid 40s.
Well, I remember when I first got into waterfowl hunting, his some of his videos were some of the first videos I ever
Yeah,
watched.
yeah.
Like I still got the DVDs.
Of Oh, now you're dating yourself, buddy. As
But
long
that
as you
was in
don't
my
pull in.
early 20s. That was in
Yeah,
my early 20s when I got waterfowl hunting. So that was 15 years ago,
yeah,
18 years ago. So he's been doing it. That's a long time. That's
yeah. And so I guess I guess the point I'm trying to make is that you could sit back and you can look at a brand and you can look at a video or you can look at somebody and see what they're doing, and you could think, man, what a awesome little thing that guy or girl's got going on right there, making some money doing what they love to do and stuff like that. I don't know.
Wait, people make money doing this?
Well, yeah, apparently. Um, don't tell my wife that I'm supposed to be making money because that's definitely not happening. Um, but there's no quick way to 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 be successful, I guess is what I'm getting at. Like every person, and if you look back at Sean Stalls and Fred Zinks and those guys, like they slugged it out for a long time before things started to turn the way that they wanted it to turn, and then they could be successful and have their companies and their businesses and the whole bit, right? So I don't know. I don't want to come across as this preachy dude that knows it all, because I definitely don't. But
No,
I
I mean,
just
it's good because I mean, we're given an insight that I think a lot of people don't ever actually like fully take in. Like they don't really think about, you got the listeners that are like, how did you guys get where you are? Like, how did you
yeah.
like figure out how to start a podcast? How did you start working with these companies? And like, we're able to do things like because of my podcast and because of my position in the outdoors, I'm able to work with a nonprofit by us called Wisconsin Hero Outdoors, getting
Hmm.
veterans out fishing into
Yeah.
the outdoors in multiple ways, soon to be this fall out hunting. And you've been able to accomplish some pretty amazing stuff with Punisher Waterfowl.
Yeah, and I think that's you know just like you, Brad, like you've got to stay humble, and I guess for me, I pick small battles to win. Do you know what I mean? Like
I do.
never in my mind did I ever think that I was going to be, or Punisher Waterfowl was going to be, the number one brand in the world. Never did I say Punisher Waterfowl's got to put food on my table, or provide for my family, because not without selling myself short or anything like that, but that's an unrealistic goal for me, because I'm not going to do the 3 months out of the year traveling on the road. I'm not going to do all of the work that it takes to be the number one brand.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
I do.
So
I do.
I'm
And
happy with what I am. I'm 80% happy. I could always go a little bit more, but I don't need it to be this. I've heard so many people say, and you would know it as well. Um, you know, they started their companies, their brands, their business, whatever it is, because they absolutely love what they're doing. But then it came a time when all they done was work, and they didn't get to go do the very thing that started them in the business. And
right.
I don't want that to happen with me.
And it's easy. It's very easy to have the grind replace the passion too, and it
Yeah.
turns into a second job.
Hmm.
And if you're not making money and if you're not making money, which I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not making any money doing this. I do this to better myself, to use it to make connections, to
Yep.
help with different projects I'm involved in. Because again, even podcasts, bringing guests on the show, that's all part of marketing.
One
It's
hundred
all part
percent.
of expanding your reach. Because coming on your show, when I came on your show,
Yep.
it might have put me in touch with someone I was never in touch before with, and it's another
Absolutely.
guest I can either bring on, or it's another avenue to get somewhere like to work with another brand or another
Absolutely.
company.
Yeah.
And it's just another piece of marketing.
Absolutely. And a friend of mine once said, if you're not networking, you're not working. And that sort of always stuck with me, because it makes sense, and I don't want it to come across as though I'm saying, well, the only reason why I'm hanging out with you, Brad, or doing the show with you is because I wanted to use it to propel me further ahead, because that's not the case. Um, but there's something to be said about surrounding yourself with good people, because if you're constant, if that's who your circle is, then nothing but good things is going to happen to you. Nothing. You
Right.
just, if you're just pushing out positive, and the people that you hold closest to you, if they're just giving out positive, then it's just nothing but positive that's going to come from it, right? So that
Absolutely.
and that's the podcast. Like, I don't know how it is how it is for you, like when you reach out for guests. I did a show, I recorded a show, one of our shows earlier today, and I had a gentleman on by the name of Matthew Hicks from Ohio. And this dude, I've been wanting to get ask this guy to come on the show for a long time, because his photography is amazing. And we recorded, so that was episode 149 that we recorded today. And I still get floored and excited every time I ask a guest to come on and they say yes.
Oh, agreed.
Because it blows
100%.
because there's people that I admire that I look up just like you, right? There's
Oh
people
yeah.
that's in this world that you're like, oh man, I bet you that he's just a good dude. And then you reach out to ask them to come on your show, and yeah, absolutely, I'll come on and talk with you for a little bit. And then you're reminded that everybody just they're no different. They just got a passion, and they just want to keep doing it, and they want to hang out with people that are the same. Sometimes, the really popular guys, it becomes a grind for them, and they don't get to hang out with the people that they want to all the time.
Agree. I mean, it's there's that balance, right? Like, I mean, if it's your, and it's also you got to respect the career too. Like, as much as they would probably want to come hang out, they can't because they
Yeah,
know that this puts food on their table. Legit,
yeah.
like this puts the money in. Like, let's not say food on the table because we're hunters here. This puts the dollar bills in the bank account, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing that I've found, and I've said it on our show a million times, is that I really can't believe some of the people that we've had on the show, how they've turned into being really good friends. And they just like you and Schiller,
Oh,
like Jeff I remember the day that my business partner said, he was like, I'm gonna reach out to Jeff Coates and see if Jeff Coates will come on the show. And I'm like, Jeff Coates is not coming on our show, buddy. That dude is way too busy. Meanwhile, now I think Jeff's been on the show like 6 or 7 times,
that's
and
awesome.
and he'll come back anytime we ask him, and he does the voiceover for us for our show, and it's just, and he's become a dude. He's become a friend that, I talk to him once a week, easy,
Sure,
and now
sure.
he's a friend. And at one time I was like, yeah, that guy's not going to come hang out with us knobs up in Canada. Um, why would he? Because Jeff is a straight up, he's a killer. Like, and I think the most popular duck hunter on the eastern seaboard. So why would he come hang out with us? But he do, and he has a good time, and now we're friends. So I just think this whole podcast thing is just such a cool thing. And
And like,
then
I agree. Like, it just those connections and the network you make. And I think a lot of that also comes to like what you said, positivity, but that positivity of like I think can really be shown like in how you give back too.
mhm,
Like for you, I mean, you have your entire event that you like Punisher Waterfowl has your event, like, and you take veterans, you take
yeah,
first responders as well, if I remember right, out
yeah,
hunting.
yeah.
And I know you've made some amazing relationships. And that's more than that's not just like we're going to put on an event and forget about you afterwards. That's like mentorship, that's connections, that's like growing like a family.
Yeah, well, our goal, it's so much like you, like the stuff that you do with the veterans, right, is to get them out of their basement and get them to be active. But the goal for us, and not to take anything away, we want to get them out of the basement and get them out and get them active. But the big goal for us is that they meet somebody at that event that they can now call up, hey, we should go do this. And now it becomes, they've it's an opportunity for them to create their own community. And
Sure.
then, right, and then they don't need to rely on a brand or a guy like me to organize a hunt for them. They've got a group of friends now, and now they can go out and they can do their own hunt. That's the goal, is to give them some ownership. Because listen, like, I suffer. I have mental illness from my time serving overseas and stuff. And I know a lot of people, both sides of the border, Canada and the US, same deal. And you need to have somebody that you can trust, that's your friend. And that's what it comes down to. Someone that you can trust enough that you can dedicate 4 or 5 hours out of your day that you're going to sit down with.
Sure.
Because and I don't know if that makes sense to many people, but to me, I got to know that I can carry out a conversation and we can have fun for 4 or 5 hours before, we go out hunting, because then it just doesn't make for a fun hunt. And so these veterans, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, the first responders, veterans, all these guys. Think about a cop, and these are cops I think about more often than not, because most people don't like them because they're
Sure.
always given tickets and stuff. So they're
You only talk to, most people's interactions with a police officer is when they've done something wrong,
absolutely,
or there's some sort of emergency and they need help. Like
absolutely,
it's a traumatic event either way.
yeah. So you think about a police officer, um, coming off shift in a city. Let's say he got posted into a city or a township or wherever, somewhere where he's not from, so he knows nobody. He's a police officer, so he thinks half the people in town don't even like him because he's
Sure.
had to give them tickets and stuff. So how hard do you think it is for that man or woman to meet a group of friends that they can go out hunting with or fishing with or spend some time outdoors with? It's extremely hard for them.
Right.
Extremely hard.
And it's
That's
hard, and it's like, even like, when you get them together and you help them build those relationships, and even if they're from different corners, right?
oh yeah.
Like, you get these Facebook community, and like, I'm not talking like groups on Facebook, I'm
Yep.
talking like text chats, like group
Yep.
text messages and Facebook message groups and stuff. And it's just a bunch, like, when you start to get those personalities that click and you grow that friendship, even though you might not be hunting with them. Like, that one guy goes out a hunt, and like, he shows a couple pictures and he missed his limit, and the guy comes back right away and goes, "We all know you missed your limit because you shot like shit." Like,
Exactly.
the ribbing doesn't stop, and it's all in good fun, but like, all of those vibes just continue through that group chat
That's
even.
right. That's right. And you know what? That that quiet guy that never used to say anything, or you passed him a dozen times a day and he just nodded at you. Now he's coming out of his shell. Now he's part of a group, and I keep saying he or she.
Right.
Um but they're coming out of their group, out of their shell now, and they're, yeah, and they're chucking shit just like everybody else, right? And that it it it's a pretty powerful thing to sit back and witness when you see somebody that's new to the sport, new to the passion, new to a group, and then come Sunday, because our events usually run from Friday to Sunday. Sunday clean up and everybody goes. It's pretty powerful on Sunday to watch the friendships that have built, and then through social media see those same people connect on hunts 6 and 7 months down the road. It's
Sure.
pretty powerful to sit back and watch. And we don't do it enough, the veterans and the first responders and stuff like that, because it just takes time and the whole bit, and that's not an excuse. I wish we did more of it, to be honest with you, but um at the same time, because we only do it so often, I think it makes it that much more special. And you know as well, Brad, like you're in this world, you know all about how, and I gotta say this, how unbelievably appreciative they are of the things that when you put together these sort of things for them, and you would know, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've never seen one like walk away like, "Oh, that was horrible."
Yeah,
Like,
you
I've never
never
seen that.
will.
I'm right. I've never seen that. I mean, when I take them out, like, my goal is to, like, not only like ensure like like to make sure that like my first thing is like mentorship, like make like I want to teach them so they can do this on their own. Like I don't
Yep.
want them to have to rely on someone else. Like I want them to be able to experience the outdoors in the way I experience and watch that sunrise and like watch like all my problems melt away as the marsh comes to life. And I want them to be
Hmm.
able to do that on their own is what
Yeah.
I like. That's my end goal. But my other one is like I want to make sure they enjoy it during the same time because we know waterfowl hunting can be a grind, and
Yeah.
I don't want them to experience that grind on their first couple hunts. They're going to find it out real quick, and they're also going to find out how poor they're going to become also. But that's that I don't show them that right away.
No, yeah, that's probably good. It's probably good you don't show the bank account after, you know, August, July and August when you got to get ready for the fall. But yeah, man, like you sort of kind of talked about it a few minutes back when you were talking about the podcasts and marketing and being successful. You've got to be willing to give back too, right? Like you can't constantly take.
Right,
There's got to be you've got to give something back into the universe that's good in order to succeed. And for us, like Dave, I would say Dave is really the catalyst behind the mentorship side of the things and making sure that they can go do this down the road. Just looking, someone's pulling into my driveway in a cool truck, and I'm like, I have no idea who that is.
uh,
But like Dave sort of looks after that mentorship side of things and making sure that they know and they got the tools and the knowledge in order to put together a hunt. I'm more I'm more concerned about the just get out there, just get out. It doesn't matter if you don't shoot birds, as long as you get out and
right.
you're outside. All of that stuff will come because you'll get hooked 100%.
Oh, absolutely.
The hard part is just getting you outdoors, and once you're outdoors, then the rest of it'll come into play, I guess.
And that's where like having a good time, right? Creating those like memories, like having like getting that group of friends and finding that new network of people. Like that's where it gets cool. Like that's where it starts to grow, and then you all push each other to stay outside.
Buddy, I am real sorry, but we're gonna have to cut this loose.
That's all right. That's all right. Um, you're gonna have to, shoot. Here's like tell everyone how to find Punisher Waterfowl, and then I'll make sure all the links are in the description.
Yep. So the easiest thing to do is just find us on social media. So search Punisher Waterfowl on social media. You'll find us Instagram, Facebook. Um, all of our particulars will be there. You'll be able to find out our show. You'll be able to see all the things that we're working on, some of the big events that we've got coming up, all that great stuff. You can find it. Brad, I'm extremely sorry that I got to cut this off here right now because somebody just pulled in and I really got to go check
No,
it.
it's all good. Hey, I said 40 minutes to an hour and 20. We're right at an hour. It's perfect, man. It's
Perfect.
just we needed someone to kick us off, or this would have been a 4-hour episode. So it's good. I
Yeah,
appreciate you coming on, Damien, and we'll bring you back on later.
I appreciate it. Love it, buddy. And same with you. Open invite anytime on ours.
Sounds good.
Big love, buddy.
Talk to you later.
Later.
Thanks everyone for tuning in to another episode. And until next time, keep chasing that experience.